They say every great song starts with a story. But today, we are going inside. We are going to see where the voice of those stories is born. We are going to go inside the factory where they built the guitars for Elvis, Kurt Cobain, Johnny Cash, even the Beatles. Can a piece of wood actually have a soul? Today, we are going to go inside the C.F. Martin Guitar Factory tour in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and find out. Welcome to the podcast where we prove that the world is our classroom. I'm Catherine with Diapers on a Plane, and I am taking you along as we unschool our 6 kids around the world. Forget desks and textbooks. We are learning music and math at the Martin Guitar Factory like today, history and religion at America's oldest bookstore, the Moravian Bookstore in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and geography on the lighthouses in Cape Cod, to name a few. Each episode dives into our latest destination to show you how we use travel to spark curiosity and follow a world schooling curriculum. Now, if you're new here, you just take a look at our page. We are so happy to have you, and you can see kind of how we've done this. The world teaches us our best lessons. Whether you're a homeschooling pro or you're just curious about life on the road with kids and world schooling and unschooling across the globe, grab your passport and join our journey. All right, so let's start off with a question for the chat. All right, now if you could see inside any factory in the entire world, which one would it be? You don't even have to know what the factory is, but if there is something that you've always been wanting to see, like how it is made, then what is that factory? And let us know in the comments. In fact, I am just really quick going to pin this comment onto the chat. Give me 1 second. If you've watched any of like my shorts before, this is my first time actually trying to do this on horizontally like this with the computer. So I am just a little bit new. So give me just 1 second here. Let's see. Can I do this? I can. Okay. Horizontally like this but we don't want sound. That's not good. Okay. All right. So let me know what thank you, BFR, for the chat. I don't know. Maybe I can't make a comment. I thought I could. Maybe I will have to add it after. All right. Well, I'll figure it out for the next time, but let us know. So for us, how did we get here? So that is the question we're answering today. How did we find out about this guitar factory tour? Well, we love music. We absolutely love music. In fact, my son plays the guitar, and he's been playing. I found out, I was looking it up, and he started when he was 5 years old. His grandpa gave him a guitar, and his dad played guitar a little bit. Actually, Gabriel actually plays the accordion. I play the piano, and he plays the accordion, and we both kind of dabbled in it a little bit. I also took the trombone and the clarinet, and Gabriel studied the accordion and the guitar, and we both were can play, but you wouldn't necessarily say we were the best at it. But that was something we really wanted our kids to develop a love for, because one of my huge regrets is really not being able to play an instrument really well. I feel like you can bless so many lives. It's a skill that you can take with you. There's so many circumstances where somebody needs a pianist or any sort of musical instrument, and it's just such an incredible talent to have. And so this was something we really, really wanted to instill in our children. So Gabriel's dad gave our oldest son a guitar, and he immediately was like, I want to learn how to play this. So we immediately got him some lessons. And yeah, 5 is a little young. And he just kind of started learning the basics. And then as he got older, he really started developing more and more of it. And so then our oldest daughter, she wanted to learn the violin. And then another daughter wanted to learn the ocarina. And yes, if you're a Legend of Zelda fan, it is the same instrument from the game. Now we've got a little one that has picked up the ukulele, and they've all just kind of been drawn to their own instruments. So we love music. Now we also started a new journey, and that is living remote. So if you also, we are going to start a new series where we talk all about this, and it should be coming soon, hopefully. But where we live remote. And so one of the things that we definitely wanted to do when we lived remote was find a way to obviously bring our curriculum with us. Now we have done this for years. We've done this for a long time. I used to work for an airline, and we would go travel, and we would live actually in different places around the world. And we always made sure to use curriculum from those locations. And so use the world around us. So this is a natural extension of that, where it's full-time versus just traveling during select periods of time. So anyway, I ended up looking up, like, of course, things to do, which took me to this website about factory tours, and a bunch of factory tours you can take. There's actually just 6 factory tours that you can take in New England. And we were in Pennsylvania, and so that's not exactly New England. But anyway, it took me on this huge search, and then I ended up using ChatGPT to do this like extensive, exhaustive, which I'm actually going to be putting on our blog. But it is like, it's over 100 factory tours, and it's all organized by state alphabetically. It's the coolest thing ever. And now I just have this resource that if we're somewhere and we want to go see how something is made, and that's how big of an impact this guitar factory tour had on us and our family. So that's kind of the short intro, the very long intro about going inside the factory tour, how we found it and why we wanted to do it. Now I'm going to take you along this journey. I'm going to show you all the photos. I don't have any video. I'm going to get into why, but I'm going to show you everything and kind of go over the process of how this worked. But I just want to reiterate, if you are new here, or you are a homeschooler, a world schooler, an unschooler, a road schooler, all of my tribe here, that we school our children in our homes and follow the curriculum that we think is best, this is for you. And we're so glad to have you. I will pin also in the comments or in the description. We have a really awesome community on Facebook, and it's around the world schooling group, and it's really cool too. So, okay. Also, if you are excited about this, and this is something that you want to do with your kids or your family, or you just love guitars, like this factory was just absolutely amazing, make sure to hit the notification, like, and subscribe. We're going to be going somewhere every single week. We're going to show you what we are currently world schooling about. So, okay. Now, I told you kind of how, I told you the why. Now, what subjects does this cover? Because we always have to be aware of like following the rules of what's required for us as parents. So we are going to go into this detail towards the end, but this covers music, math, craftsmanship, science, physics, engineering. It literally covers just about everything. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to share with you our pictures today and go over the process of how it happened. And of course, if you have any questions, love to hear them. I would love for this to be an open. If you have been to the Martin Guitar Factory tour, I'd love to hear like your thoughts and impressions about it, and just have a really robust discussion about this. All right. Okay, it's pulled up here. Okay. I was messing with it to try and figure it out, but here we go. Okay. So this is the building. This is outside the C.F. Martin and Company Incorporated building. Again, this is in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. So it's just a small little country. And, yes, we've got Nazareth, we've got Bethlehem. We are going to do a whole world schooling podcast episode about how the Moravians came to Pennsylvania and settled. They immigrated here. And we have a fun story about that in here that we're going to get to. Okay, so actually what's really cool, let me see if I can get to it really quick. I'm not sure why it's missing some of these photos. Okay, give me 1 second here. It's not showing some of the pictures. Let's see if I can pull them up. I'm really new at this. Okay. So when you get to the factory tour, you're going to go inside and there's just this opening. This is actually, let's see if we can zoom in on this. We can't. Okay. Well, this is a specialty made guitar, and we're going to talk more about this at the end. But this is a guitar that they made in collaboration with some artists, and it is a Leonardo da Vinci guitar. So right here, you can see at the circle window, it's got this. It's basically got paintings of Leonardo da Vinci on it. So, and there's a guitar store, and you can see all this stuff. But it's absolutely it's just so stunning. Okay, so one of the first things you do is actually you go inside and okay, before you go, the first thing you need to know is that you have to set an appointment. And right here is where you go, and you can see we are all wearing headphones, and you have to have a guided tour with you. You cannot do this on your own. You have to have the tour with you. And it is absolutely forbidden to take any video recordings at all. I mean, she was so strict. She was like, absolutely forbidden. We have pictures of our guide. She was absolutely phenomenal. Cannot say enough great things about her. Great about asking questions. She went over, and I'm going to go over all this with you with the photos. You can take as many photos as you want. Absolutely forbidden to take any video once you walk through the doors. And I'm sure that is because of trade secrets and patents and all of that. And she goes over the patents with us and all of this really cool stuff, but it's absolutely forbidden. So you will not see any videos on here. There's all sorts of really cool things that we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about the specialty guitars. I'm going to show off some photos of those, and they're absolutely stunning. They're absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so you go in, they've got like their little gift shop and museum right there, and this is kind of outside of that. And then you actually go through the doors, and this is like the first thing you see on the factory tour. So basically, this is an oversized giant guitar. It is so cool. I mean, look at how awesome that is. And it shows all the inner workings of the guitar and also the outside. And it's just massive. It just kind of is just this iconic representation of the factory itself. Okay, so first what we do is we just kind of see some of like the computers and the things that the craftsmen are working on before we actually get into the tour itself. But all of this is on display. Now, they do have some like yellow lines along the factory tour, along the cement floor. You can't walk outside of those. They're very, very strict about that. But everything is really, really visible. You can see everything, and it's just, there's so much that you can do and see. And then right here, this vertical slice right here where you see the guitar, there's stops throughout the tour where she will show off a lot of these things, maybe not in this one necessarily, but she will pick up pieces so you can touch them, you can see where they fit inside the guitar. This is really an educational tour about how the guitar is made. Now, if you don't know, the CF Guitar Martin Company started in 1833. So it goes back almost 200 years, which is so incredible. Now, C.F. Martin, he moved to Pennsylvania because it reminded his wife of Germany. Now, the Moravians were German, and they came over from Germany, and they came over to America, just like the Pilgrims and everybody else. And they were a very strict religious community. They actually started a college. They founded both the cities of Bethlehem and Nazareth, which obviously is very religious. They based them off of biblical towns. And you could not operate a business in those cities if you were not of the Moravian faith. So C.F. Martin had to convert to become a Moravian in order to open up the C.F. Martin Guitar Factory. So that is just such an interesting, fun fact for me. And probably, for you too, because that just seems so foreign to us today. Like, you want to open a business, Sure, there's hoops you have to go through if you need like a loan or whatever, but you have to, religion is definitely not a part of it. But it was back then. So you had to convert to become a Moravian. And we learned a lot about this, like at an ice cream factory in Columbia, Missouri at Turkey Hill, obviously in Bethlehem and Nazareth. So this has a huge history. The Moravians have a huge history in Pennsylvania. They really helped found this state and so many of the cities. And this is just one aspect of it. Okay, so now this, you can see what he is doing right here is he is actually fitting the neck onto the guitar. And we're going to see a little bit more about this later. When we passed by the first time, I didn't actually know what was going on. So we have some better pictures. Okay, so what is showing us here? Now, I thought this was fascinating. You'll have to tell me what you guys think. But I thought this was so fascinating because you have got this thin piece. When you have a guitar, it's a solid unit and it's thick. I wish I had my guitar with me, but it's thick and it looks like one solid, it looks like something, that it was built, but once you have the finished product, you're like, this was always like this, And so to see this incredibly thin, just face, so you have the face and the back of the guitar, and we're going to take you through this whole thing, was just so interesting to see because it's so thin. It's just so thin. So right here in the back that's laying flat on the table, this is the signature Martin X bracing. So this is what keeps the guitar from compressing. This is what holds up the guitar so that it holds the shape of it. It also is what makes it from, it's what creates the sound. Now, if you know anything about guitars, Martin has a much deeper, deep resonating sound. And they go, again, all the way back to 1833, whereas Taylor is fairly new. And they only started creating guitars in 1974. And so you've got this richer sound. So, I mean, it's just a deeper sound. They're just totally different. Taylor's and Martin's, I would love to hear in the chat. Put in the chat, do you play a guitar? Sorry, do you play a Martin or do you play a Taylor? Like there's this old saying that goes, you play a Martin at a bar and you play a Taylor at the church. So one is just, it's deeper, it's richer, it's thicker, it's got the X bracing, whereas the Taylor has the V bracing. Taylor is better for finger styles, whereas Martin is better for strumming and picking. So there's just lots of little differences. Both excellent guitars. We have both. We have a Martin and we also have a Taylor, different styles. In fact, we have a Martin that is it's specifically a travel guitar. So it's very small. It's longer. So it's not as small as a ukulele and it has more of a sound of a guitar. But my son actually played it and have video of this. I wish I'd remembered this. But in Korea, we took it with us to Korea for him to keep practicing because he loved the guitar so much when he was 8 years old. So, all right. Okay, let's move on. So we've got our very thin pieces. And so what they do is these have to sit. Let's get to the picture where they show off. Okay, so it comes right after this. So Martin invented and they patented the X bracing on the Martin. So that's the way that it sounds. That's the way that it creates it has the large, loud, big guitar shape that everybody recognizes. It's called the dreadnought. And Martin invented this. And this X bracing inside the middle supports the guitar. So not only does it make it for the sound, but it also makes it strong enough to handle the steel strings. And this, of course, changed music forever. Once we had the Martin is just an incredible, I actually asked her at the end of the tour, I was like, how did people just had to make all of this by hand? They still make a ton of it by hand. We're going to see all this, but they also use a lot of machines, especially for the sanding. They use this tech it's called candling, how they determine that the wood is good enough to use. Okay, so she's going over the whole patent process right here. Each one of these pieces of wood, she talked about the type of wood that they use, but each one of these pieces of wood is a piece that they put together to create the guitar, whether it's inside where the bracing is or whether it's around the side of it where they have to literally shape it into that beautiful guitar shape. These are the types of wood that you can use, but you can see in the inside diagram, they actually, all these little pieces, they've got these little notches of wood. So every single one, that whole line was every single piece of wood that goes into making a guitar. So over 300 pieces of wood go into making a guitar. Okay, so here you can see these yellow lines. And that is where we had to follow. And she was with us, so we didn't have to worry about going in the wrong place. But the guitar factory is just so vast. Okay, so here's our tour guide. She is showing us this right here, right in front of her. It's this white rectangle shape. This is called candling. So in the past, what they would do is they would hold a candle up on the thin piece of wood. They would hold the candle up to see if there were any imperfections. Now they use kind of an X-ray type laser, and that shows them if there's any sort of imperfections in the wood, because what will happen is that will stretch because it is so thin. It will continue to stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch, weathering things over time. Now, if it's over the center of it where they cut out the circle, that's okay. Or if it's up at the top where they're going to cut it out for the neck, that's okay. But if it's in any of the body of the guitar, they can't use that at all. Okay, so here he is. Look, so they are going to recycle this wood from the outside. They cut out the inside of the shape of the guitar, and then they're going to recycle. And I can't remember what they recycle it and use it for. Maybe smaller pieces of wood along the inside, along the body, along the outside. But this is one of the machines. It was not in use right now. And now we've got these lanes. So they have to sit, just like we always use, if you've ever built a fire or done anything with wood, your wood has to rest. Now, something that's really interesting is I told you it takes 300 pieces of wood, about the same steps to make one guitar. Actually, I think I got those mixed up. I can't remember exactly how many pieces of wood, but it takes 300 steps to make one guitar, and it takes 3 months. So over time, and we're going to go over the rest of these photos, but over time, it takes 3 months from start to finish, from resting, from taping, from gluing, from sanding, from staining to testing it. And all of this takes about 3 months. And they finish 150 a day. So that is how the series is going along, is they are doing all of these steps, and it's taking about 3 months. Okay. And then they make about 50,000 just in Pennsylvania. They also have a plant in in Mexico, where they make, I think it was 120 a year, but they make 50,000 about, give or take, just here in Pennsylvania. And they have no seconds. There's no like, oops, we messed up. Well, we'll sell this for a discount. Like Martin has this high level standard. And if it doesn't meet it, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be used. All right. I don't know why this isn't. Is this why? This is why. Okay, sorry. We're going to go back. Okay, so here you can see these are all of the wood pieces that are going to be recycled. We've got the guitar shape cut out. I just thought this was so fascinating. And then here she's showing it up. So you've got the back side and the front side, and you're going to cut out a piece of wood. In the background, you can see there's more pieces of the guitar shape. And here they're just sitting here on this, like, it looks like a bakery to me, where you would like put your finished donuts. Okay. So now here she is showing us again. So they cut out the back of the guitar, and then what they need to do is put the X bracing on it and then put all the other pieces. Now, again, this is going to support the body of the guitar. It's going to hold the weight of the steel strings, distribute it correctly, and all of that. Okay. So here we have somebody. So he is doing the inside bracing, I think. I'm not sure. A lot of these photos, I might not be able to tell you exactly what they're doing, but these are all things that she's going to explain on the tour that you're going to get to see. This obviously is part of the pieces of the guitar that they're putting together. Here we've just got more of the factory tour. Okay, here we go. Here is the neck bracing. Now you can see, now what they have to do is they have to bend the neck, and they have to glue it. So you can see right here at the top, and the top of this horse, they've got the neck, and you can see it comes up a little bit, right? Like your standard, because that's where you're going to be tuning it. They have to pull pull it up a little bit for that classic guitar sound. And then they have to glue these pieces together so that they fit exactly right. Okay, we've got another one. I just thought this guitar was so fascinating. So I took a couple pictures of it. I thought it was really cool. All right. Okay. So he is, I'm not sure what he's doing. You can see he's doing something with the top and the bottom. It's really hard when you don't take video to try and absolutely remember everything that they taught you. So he is doing something with the top. I think he's preparing it for the neck to be attached. So like I said, 3 months to do one guitar. So there's a lot of resting. Okay. And she is talking. Okay. So this was really cool. So once they put some of it, they can glue, some of it they can tape, and some of it they have to have these really ultralight clothespins. And this is actually the trim. So if you've ever looked at a guitar, a Martin guitar, if you have one at home, you will see that they have this ribbing along the side, and they actually intricately hand glue that on. So it goes around your guitar, so around the side of it, and they intricately lay it around because that affects the sound. It affects how the guitar shape. It affects everything about it. So they have to put those clothespins on it. And I know they at least, I'm pretty sure they rested for like 24 hours. She showed us another portion where they have like the rotation of like when the clothespins were put on, when the clothespins can be taken off, but it's just an incredibly intricate process. It's so fascinating. And it does end up going all the way around. So she is actually, this is one of those vertical displays where she's showing us exactly how it goes. Okay. Okay. So these are the sides of the guitar, right? You have these really thin, small front and backs. And then this is the side that goes around the edge. And they have to shape those, and they have to adhere those. All right, so here we've got more of the factory. We have now, so you notice there's not a front and back on these right now. Right now, all we are doing is shaping the outside trim of the guitar. And then here, we're going to put them in these cases that just keep them in the right shape as they're glued. And then, oh, this is really cool. So we're going to be able to see this guy do this in person. But what he does is you can see this is the frame for it. And he is actually going to cut out where you're actually going to glue the top and the bottom on. So he has got this little beveled machine, and he actually cuts it out. There's just little teeny tiny places where you're going to put these you're going to adhere it on. And he does the front and the back separately. And you can see right there. So these were like little notches I was talking about. You can see where the clothespins need to attach to them. And it's just such an intricate, delicate process to get these Martins to make this beautiful resonating sound that they have. So here he is again. He's actually doing the back side right now. So he's doing the flip side. Okay, and this is just the next step in the process. I can't remember what it was. Okay, now she's going to start sanding it. So now we've got the front and the back all together. We've got all of our trim on and everything. Still looks like it's amazing how much trim or how much stain makes a guitar look like finished versus just kind of this unfinished kind of like thin piece of wood that your kids might play with as a Christmas gift after something you made, right? Okay. Okay, so then after they adhere the top and the bottom, this is the part they don't use glue, they don't use clothespins, but they use this specialty made tape because it doesn't stick to it. It just holds it in place, and it doesn't leave any residue. It doesn't leave any stickiness. And it's just barely enough. So I just thought this was so fascinating. It's just a wider view of this. And what I think is so interesting about this whole process is you have to remember that in 1833, they had no machinery. They had no tools. So right now, most of what you've seen is a lot of hand, but they have automatic sanders, or they have these frames where they're holding the pieces together. You're going to see at the very end, they have this huge robotic arm that ends up sanding the guitars for them. But they don't really have any, they don't have like these hot presses where they can have the glue set. So once they glue like the front and the back and the trim and the sides together, they put them in these machines that end up sealing the glue like really hard. And, they didn't have any of that. And one of the questions I asked her at the end was, so what did they do before they had all these machines? And she was just like, they just did it by hand. So if it's 3 months to make a guitar now, like, I wish I had asked how long did it take in 1833? Like, so fascinating. And in addition to that, like, we also like had a lot of conversations about like what spurs you to want to create a musical instrument? Like, how did people come up? I mean, how many musical instruments are there? Like, where did this knowledge come from in order to create a musical instrument, in order to manufacture something that has such a massive impact and can change sound and all these things? I don't know if you guys have ever, certain theaters around the world have different acoustics, but we were in, we were in Italy, and we actually went to one of the outdoor theaters where, was it Italy? No, it was in the Mediterranean. So now I'm trying to remember, but it was where some Shakespearean plays were produced. And depending on where you stood in the stage, you didn't need microphones. Like, we sometimes we sometimes forget, or at least sometimes I do, that in the past they may not have had the technology that we had. And so I sometimes think, how did they do this? But then we also sometimes I don't give them credit for what they were able to do, like perform on a stage where they changed the way that the stadium was built in order for sound to carry. So there's like two different facets of like ways to think about it, right? Is that, yes, like, what kind of like craftsmanship, what kind of ingenuity did you need to be able to build a guitar? But then they had a lot of that. They had a lot of that when they were performing Shakespeare plays, is knowing how, like, and information, like things that we've lost. Like, how does the shape of a piece of wood change the way that it sounds? How does the shape of the stadium change the way that light, or change, yeah, sure, light, but change the way that sound carries? Like, it's fascinating to me. I'm sure a lot of you agree. Okay, so here's more of the taping, and you can see it's just this light pink tape. I've never had this many phone calls in my life. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to turn it off. Okay. Okay. So there is the tape, and you can see there's some people in the back, and they are doing their jobs. Okay. So a lot of this is where they're cutting, where they're gluing, where they're sealing the glue, where they are just, doing all this stuff. Okay. I don't remember what he is doing. Something with the back of the guitar. Okay. So now you've got different stages of finish right here. So I'm pretty sure here they're getting ready to be sanded. Because, if you've ever played a guitar, like, they are so smooth and polished, like running your hands along it just is so smooth. Okay. And then of course, every single Martin has its own barcode, has its own, there's hundreds of different types of styles, and, they're different numbers, different styles, different models, everything. Okay. Now here they are starting to work on the bridges and the necks. And this is its own intricate thing, right? This is where all this, it's not necessarily where the sound comes, but it's how the player makes the sound, right? So it's like, it's so essential. Okay. And now he is attaching the neck. And these people are they're all just working. They're all just doing their jobs, and we just get to watch them do it. Okay, I'm not sure. She is showing us, I think she's showing us like the fretboards. Am I using the right word for that? I do not play the guitar. And then these are the necks, and they're resting, right? So each part of this creation has to rest and set, and the glue has to form, and it all has to come together. All right. So we're starting now the sanding process. We're getting towards the end of it. The wood has to cure, the stain has to cure, the sanding has to cure. They had a whole bunch of different stations of this. And okay, another really cool thing is this person who's sanding this guitar right now, They do not come to work every single day and only sand. So if you worked at the company for like 7 years, you would not only sand these instruments. You actually have 3 or 4 like specialized skill sets when it comes to making the guitar. And you will sand one day and then the next day you'll do something else, or maybe even a part of the day. And they say they do this so they don't get fatigued from the same thing. It's also incredibly monotonous, and it also allows them to fill in if somebody can't be there for the day. But you've got 4 people sanding today, and maybe they don't need 4, maybe they need somebody on another station, but lots of opportunity to learn different ways that they make the guitar in the factory. What was also really cool is that we were sent home. They cut out all the guitar rounds out of the center, that circle center where the strings go over, and they send you home with one. So we now have these C.F. Martin guitar round. They're called guitar rounds, and we get to keep them. And that's really cool. Okay. So here they also have a repair center where they repair guitars. So if you have a Martin, you can send it in to be repaired. So really cool. All right. So you have seen my little guy in these photos, and he's pretty little. How little do you guys think is too little to take your little ones on a factory tour? He got pretty bored. He was like, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. And I still thought it was good for him. I'd love to know what you guys think. All right. So I want to actually, I'll go over that at the end. Okay. So we're keep going. Let's talk a little bit about the Wall of Fame here. I think I have a picture of it, but like I mentioned at the beginning, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Kurt Cobain, all the Beatles, basically you name it, because again, remember before 1970s, the Martin was kind of the only name in guitars. They were the big name. They were really important, and they basically did everything. But they've also, now I can't verify this, but I did hear that if you come to the Martin Guitar Factory, you can go to what's called the picking parlor, and you can sit down and play like your guitar that you got for maybe a couple $100 versus a couple $1,000 versus like even more. Like they have specific types of wood that they use to make the guitars that cost like $30,000. Okay. So here they are curing with the stains. So there's just so much that you can do. I didn't verify. I didn't actually learn about the picking parlor until after we left. My son plays the guitar. I would have loved for him to be able to do that. So I can't verify that they told me that, but that's what I've learned online. So I don't know if that's true or not, but just to give you some that information. All right. So there's also an inspection process. So not only do they stain it, but then they inspect it. Before they polish it, they go through the inspection process. And the inspection process is very, very rigorous. And like I said, they don't do seconds on the guitar. They don't sell seconds. Okay. Okay, now this is the huge robotic arm. So you kind of have to peer through it, look for the wheel, and then you can see the guitar in the back. And they are sanding this on a giant robotic arm. And notice how it's inside like it almost looks like it's like a sealed off quarantined room. That's because they already have enough sawdust on the floor and they want to keep it all contained. And I think they don't want anybody, bump. This thing is like crazily moving this guitar all over the place. Like it's lifting it up in the air and it's twisting and contorting it and moving it all around. And so it's like all over the place. So I'm sure they don't also want people walking in the wrong area. And I'm sure that the people that work there know what to do, but it's probably more for people like us. But it was really fascinating to see that. I thought that was really cool. Oh, here it is, just up a little bit more close. Obviously, it's not a video, so you can't see how it's moving it around, but it was trust me, it was really cool. And when you go there, you can see it was really cool. All right, so this factory just goes on and on and on. You've got the guitars. So now you can see the side of them are stained, just the multifaceted process of doing every single piece of it. Now, a fun fact is that the dreadnought was named, so that is the shape of the guitar. It was named after a massive British battleship because it was so much bigger than previous guitars. Okay, and so here we are. I'm not sure, but I just loved seeing everything. And it's so crazy because you think when you're in the middle of it and you think, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be able to remember everything," and you definitely aren't. Okay, so we're now going to talk. I'm going to keep going through some more pictures, but we're going to talk about what a great opportunity this is for schooling, for world schooling. So we talked a little bit about the subjects. I'm going to go over like the school subjects that your kids can learn. Now, if you know me in real life, I have argued with many a homeschool parent about how music is math. I mean, think about music. Think about the counting that you have to do, the rhythm that you have to keep, the scales that you have to learn, like the formulas that you have to learn about where the music is on the treble clef. And then if you're playing like the piano, both the treble clef and the bass clef, like music has so much math in it. So you are learning music. Of course, you're learning about tonality, you're learning about rhythm, you're learning about so many things, but you're also learning about math. Now, not just math of playing the musical instrument, but you're learning the mathematics of how to create a musical instrument because there is so much specificity that goes into it. Like you can't just take two pieces of wood and then glue something around it and expect it to make a sound. I mean, you've seen guitars. You've got a ukulele versus a guitar. You've got a bass versus a guitar. You've got, a cello and a violin and how different they are based on the different sizes. You've got those round like tambourines. You've got so many different things based off of the type of shape that it is. And so it's very specific. If you want to get very similar sounds, you have to really be specific about it. So that's mathematics. You've also got the X bracing inside of the guitar, the measurement of the string tension, the precision of the fret spacing on the mathematical ratios of the fretboard, like so many things that go into mathematics. Okay, but we've also got science. Now, science obviously I think makes a lot of sense because the science of how to make this, I feel like I've kind of already talked about it, but I was calling it a different subject because so many of these subjects overlap. But talk about the wood that they use. Different types of wood resonates the sound in different ways. So that is super cool. And not only how it makes the sound different, but where it comes from. Like, where does this wood come from? And what part of the world does it come from? And what shape is the wood? And can it bend easier? And is it more malleable? And all of this stuff. Now, I told you a little bit about C.F. Martin and his journey to build this factory. So we've got a lot of history. There's also 6 generations that have stayed within the Martin company because he started this legacy. We've got how the Moravians prevented him from starting the company unless he joined their religion. So there's so much history and legacy that goes into making the Martin guitar that has been a part of our culture. So talk about culture, talk about social studies when it comes to the C.F. Martin guitar and this guitar factory tour. Okay. I was like, I know I have more pictures. Okay. This was way cool. So you want to talk about music again. This is a guitar tester. And I asked the guide specifically, like, what does it take to become a guitar tester? And she's like, oh, you have to be an very experienced, amazing guitar player. And you have to, I was like, so I'm guessing that that's like part of your interview. And she was like, yeah, like during the interview, you really have to show off that you know how to play the guitar. And so that's what they do. And then they play, and he was actually playing while we were there and he was testing out this finished guitar. And it just sounded so beautiful. It was so incredible. And that's another subject. You got physics, which covers acoustics and sound waves. right? So we've talked about the types of wood and the vibration of it. And also, we talked about how the sound changed within the factory. Okay. And then down here, I'm trying to remember what was down here. There's this whole floor down here. Shoot, I don't remember. But what this does show is the industrial arts and engineering, right? You've got the industrial revolution, and this was a huge part of it. This is definitely a perfect example of being able to come into our modern age because we had machines that could take out a lot of the laborious work of making an instrument like this. And even still, it still takes a lot of handmade work, and it still takes a lot of time. All right. Okay, so awesome. Let's see. I think we have a couple more pictures. Here we are polishing it, and it takes a lot. I mean, so there's a sanding station and then also a polishing station. And you can see he's actually pouring it on here. Oh, no, sorry. He's buffing it out. He's buffing the polish on it. I thought I got a picture of them pouring it out, but maybe I didn't. Or maybe it's just not on here. Okay. Here he is just cleaning it off, buffing it. So again, they all do multiple things on the factory tour. And so they have multiple stations of people doing the same things, but also those people can do other things within the factory as well. Okay. A couple more pictures. You can see right here, the circle, that little circle right here, if you can see it right in the middle, is what they cut out and then give to you at the end of the tour. Okay, and here's the better picture of him. It actually was a pretty good picture before. I just didn't know what it was. So he's making the actual neck of the guitar here. Okay, and then here he is doing the clothespins around the side for that little trim that is so important to the sound. Okay, so those are all our pictures. This was the C.F. Martin tour. So, a couple of things to note. Again, if you loved going inside this C.F. Martin factory tour with us today, then please be sure to like and subscribe. We are going to take you on a new journey every week. And then you can see on our channel with our weekly videos more of what we did in each location and kind of get an overview of everything. You can also get a deeper look inside where we talk a little bit more about what we did and where we went and everything. If you find yourself at the C.F. Martin factory tour in Nazareth, I want to recommend this cute little bakery called Bread and Honey. It's just around the corner. You can just put it up on your GPS, and it was just really good. It's got 60 5-star reviews. It's called Bread and Honey. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining this tour with us. Next week, we are going to be trading the Sound of Music for the Ring of Freedom. So while we were in Pennsylvania, we also went and saw the iconic Liberty Bell, right? Right there in the heart of America where the Liberty Bell is housed. And of course, Philadelphia is where the Freedom Bell, where the Liberty Bell originated, right there on the courthouse. We learned about JFK and when he gave a speech, Martin Luther King when it was rang, like so many pivotal moments in our country's history about when this bell was rang. We learned a whole bunch about it along with the women's suffrage movement. So we're going to be talking about what we learned in Philadelphia next week. So I will see you. Actually, we're going to be doing it Thursday. We're going to be switching to Thursday. So join me for episode 2 next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here in our global classroom.